Welcome to Slingshot 25 Shotcast, a series of bite-sized podcasts that will feel like an espresso shot to your brain.
You're so good at that.
Thank you. I'm Jackie.
I'm Courtney.
Something we've been thinking about is mental health. Everyone's thinking about mental health these days, but we're specifically thinking about managers' impact on the mental health of employees.
Yep.
Courtney, I think you had some stats.
I wish they could see my face right now. It probably says a lot more about the topic than anything.
And let me describe Courtney's expression right now. It looks a little exhausted. Is that what I'm picking up there?
Yeah, I think it's exhaustion. That's probably right.
Obviously, we need to talk to your manager.
Yes, we should.
Okay, we need to let our audience know that Courtney has no manager. She is...
I am the boss of me.
She is the boss of her. So we should
No wonder I'm exhausted.
Exactly. So, Courtney, I know you read some stats lately about the impact of managers on the mental health of employees. Do you want to share those to kind of get our audience thinking about what we're thinking about?
Yeah, I didn't write anything. I thought you had the stats. Well, guess what?
Obviously, we need to talk to my manager.
One of the biggest... Okay, so there's quite a few articles floating around, but one we took a look at in depth, a lot of interesting data. They asked employees, how do they feel about the managers? What's your rate? And there's just, the data is staggering. Like, your manager has more impact on how you feel on a daily basis than your spouse.
Yeah.
Right? Than your therapist. They have a bigger impact on these people that you would think play a critical role in your energy. It's really about who you work for. And then the thing that makes it maybe my tired face is the data also says that the managers are struggling. Like 40% of C-suite executives don't expect to be able to take their job for like another year.
Yeah.
So like this tapped out, the data is aligned with what it feels like, right? We see people sort of overworked, overstressed, and now that when they ask and actually poll and have data support it, I don't think anyone looks at that and is shocked, but it's hard to look at just the same.
This is a situation of, everybody is feeling this stress. So it's not easy just to say, well, we got to look at managers and ask them to take care of their employees differently because they're suffering too. So one of the things that, we've been thinking about is how do we help managers so that not only they can serve employees better to maybe change some of these statistics, but also, how does an approach to management, how can we help managers themselves to take a different approach to their job that will actually increase their own well-being and their own, reduce their levels of stress?
Absolutely. That's where you have to help and think about helping, because the other thing that came out in the research and the data says that employees are tired, they are stressed, and they want their leaders to do more. That's a fair expectation, right? I want my leader to help. But when the reality is the leader is also struggling, the leader is also tired, the leader is also maybe not dealing with the full capacity they had or the joy of their job, or the opportunities to have an impact and make a difference. All the stuff that makes work great, they don't get to touch. So how do we help? When you think about what you just said, Jack, about helping the leaders, that's where it's got to go, right? Because they have an exponential impact. They have 10 people, 12, 8, 4, depending on your org structure, right? Depending on them, looking for them to help. And it's not an unfair expectation for employees to want more from their leader, but the reality is the leader might not have a lot to give.
Yeah.
And part of what employees are saying is, I want help with what I actually need, not what you think I need. And right, so the feedback comes through in some of our core leadership skills that they're saying, in our language, they're not being curious enough. They're not being empathetic. They don't understand me, right? They don't want to get to know me. They just assume that I need certain things, and they're not what I actually need. So the need for curiosity, for connection, for conversation is really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we teach when we talk to leaders is this idea of stepping back. And just, as you just listen to those words, and we, of course, talk a lot about what that means, and we'll just mention some of those things here. You've already, mentioned some of those things already, Courtney. But stepping back, it gives this, impression of just, releasing a little bit of that, that exhaustion, that stress. To us, stepping back means stop adding so much value. Leaders feel so much pressure to have answers. We have entire cultures that are completely answer driven, where leaders answer more questions than they ask. It involves obvious things like more delegating, but delegating, we delegate things, but then we do this thing, what our saying around here is help is the sunny side of control. So you delegate something, but then you're checking on it constantly, and you tell yourself a story that you're helping. But what you're really trying to do is to maintain control of that.
Absolutely.
So one of the biggest jobs for leaders to break this, this situation that we're in where everyone is so stressed, is to get really honest and serious and reflective about the act of stepping back. And when you step back, you then find space for those substantive skills that you were talking about, Courtney, the skills of humility, which is just not thinking of yourself so often, of just let some of that go, of just, you don't have to process everything through, what does this mean to me? How do I answer this? How do I look good in this situation? Of just letting some of those thoughts, sort of release them, let them flow through and release them, and turn your attention to your employees and think about them. And this is where empathy then comes in. Like, what might they be thinking and feeling? How can I serve them more personally so that they can do the work? They're the ones who should be doing the work. And curiosity, of course, enters in there as well. Curiosity, a specific form of curiosity is empathy, of thinking about other people. What are they thinking and feeling? And then just believing in others. That is actually a skill set, to be able to say, I don't have to do this, and I believe in the people that work for me.
Yeah. There's something very counterintuitive and disappointing when you realize that you're working in an environment that is making you tired, wearing you out, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed out, and it's because of how, you're creating that. Mm-hmm. By holding on to control, having to have all the answers, believing you're the only one that can do things, not really effectively delegating anything because of fear. You are the one that's creating your stress and making your job harder. And that you got to look at and say, am I willing to choose curiosity? Am I willing to choose faith in other people? What am I willing to let go of so that I can stop creating this? How much am I driving that? That's hard to look at.
Yeah.
But there's a huge opportunity there.
There is a huge opportunity. So we are on a mission with all of you to end the saga of the Sunday Scaries and the TGIFs. And let's get busy. Let's get busy, because I know we can do this. So that's all for this episode of our Shotcast, but we always have much more to say. So please, if you want more, drop us a line at slingshot25.com.